Did you get a mug like this when DJ?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
You didn't get one?
Maybe just the girls got one.
I didn't.
You didn't get one. Were you here when DJ?
Was it a retirement party for Christmas? I don't know,
Why, Katrina, why are you still here?
You're giving that back.
I don't know. Are you giving this back?
To the highest bidder?
Barry wants it.
Can I
He didn't
use
get
PayPal?
Excuse me, is the library recording this meeting?
one. Yes. Yes.
Where's the camera?
There's an audio.
Oh, we don't have we don't have that anymore. We just record it, the voices.
Okay, when does the public be heard?
Just when is it? I think it's at
It's
the
at the end.
end.
It's at the
About the
very end.
emails.
Response about a microphone.
Yeah.
No.
You're on the case.
The public be heard is at the end?
Yeah, I think it's the beginning and end. Or we
No, it's just the end.
Just the end.
Is that a yes?
At
It's
the
at
end.
the end.
I thought it was at the beginning. It's at the beginning for the town board. Huh? The town board meetings are at the beginning. The library public be heard at the end.
On a picture of you.
Do we have another agenda?
Wait, I'm finding something
There's
out.
a whole.
Thank you. I'll talk to you in a second.
There are some there. The agenda's going to be changed only in that Michael Hunt is going to,
This is the agenda.
speak before the director's report.
Might as well wait. They're not started yet. This might be longer than I thought. So what'd you say, Eliza?
Is this the library board meeting? Is this seat taken?
Yeah. No, by you.
By you.
It will be on my library director as well. So Katrina says, a public library, open to everyone because we all chip in to maintain it for our common good. It is like an interior park, offering a place that everyone can use, support, and exercise our First Amendment rights. The idea of trusting people of all ages to borrow a book and bring it back for others is one beautiful aspect of democracy in action. Okay, the roll call. I'm here. Barry Miller.
Here.
Barry Samuels.
Here.
Katrina Barber.
Here.
John Woodward.
Here.
Jesse Jones.
Here.
Jill Fisher.
Here.
George Finsler.
Here.
And Sonny Kaplan.
Here.
Excused Arlene Hammond and Dorothea Marcus. Janet Diamond is here. And we need to modify the agenda unless, are you speaking for Michael Hunt or is he coming?
I would never speak for Michael Hunt.
There he is.
There he is.
There he
He has
is.
his own, he has his own firm.
I want to modify the agenda before we make a motion to adopt it, and that is that Michael Hunt will speak before the director's report, and the director's report will precede the financial report.
So that means he's first, in other words?
Yes.
Wow.
Do I hear a motion about approving?
I make a motion to approve the amended agenda.
All in favor? Anyone opposed? The next order of business is to approve the February 18th meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I just want to correct the name J. Mueller to J. Mullen, M-U-L-L-E-N. On the director's report, I misheard.
M-U-E, spell it again, please. Mullet,
Mullen,
Mullen.
M-U-L-L-E-N.
with an N.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, is there any discussion or
This
correction?
one's here.
Looks good.
All in favor of
She's here.
I made a
accepting?
motion to.
Oh, Barry, yeah.
All in favor?
I'll second it.
Anyone opposed? Okay, the minutes are passed. And Michael?
Hey, Michael?
Step out.
Michael,
It's behind you.
Go do it.
Oh, here you go. Hi.
Ah, wonderful.
Hiding in the closet again?
Hello.
Hi, oh, hi.
We're happy to have you.
Oh, we're delighted to be
Michael,
here.
do you want to sit down? You want to pull up a chair or you want to?
You know, we'll stand. We'll stand.
Okay.
Just give him some chairs. Here,
Sitting through dinner.
I'm gonna bring him some chairs.
It's really important tonight.
Well, first off, thank you for having us tonight. I don't know if you all know Devin, but she's my little sidekick, and this is our second home half the time, so she wanted to come tonight because it's spring break and it's not a school night. She's going to stay up late tonight, so we're going to party. So thank you. John was at our quarterly meeting the other day, the Friends, and invited us here. We were explaining this little program, this little thing in the kids' room, and he invited me to come over and explain it all to you guys. So I just want to give you a brief report on what's happening. So to give you a little recap of what the Friends do, we raise money and we give it to the library when the library director, staff, when you guys ask for things, and it could be anything from hey, we need a bus because we're doing grassroots lobbying up in Albany, so we, kick in for a bus. Or we need a new magazine rack, we buy a new magazine rack. I don't think we've ever said no. We discuss it, we throw it around, but that's generally what happens. You guys ask for it, and then we help you facilitate getting what it is. And it gives the taxpayers a break because it's not in the, that budget. And there we go. So last fall, Devin tried these computers out at the West Hurley Library, and Leslie was aware of them, and they are hardwired, they are not hooked up to the internet, and they have all these educational programs and games on them and stuff. And we thought, okay, it's another way of engagement, and it's going to be an added bonus, and the children's librarian is asking for them, so we looked over everything and we purchased them. And then she said, okay, where are we going to put them? And we bought them already, and then we're like, okay, wait. Now we got some really savvy people on the Friends, and Richard is like, wait. So he called up the company and said, don't start that warranty until we actually get delivery of them, not at the purchasing. So we worked that out, and working with Janet and Jack and Leslie, thank you, Richard is a spatial guy. He's done all these corporate events, and he's like, okay, I'm going to help. We're going to figure out how to do it. So this town is so wonderful in so many ways. He goes to, we need a desk for the hard, for the big computer, the desktop. I think it's 5 through 9 for the one, they break it down in age brackets, 5 through 9 through that. And there's tablets for maybe, 9 through 12 or something. So we decided to get a little of everything. So Richard goes to Catskill Office Supply and says, hey, we need to get a table. And they're like, hey, you can have this one. So anyway, we don't have to spend the money. We try to do that. So we get this table donated. We start working with Leslie about what to do. So we're going to put it in the corner. And then he's like, they start talking about decor and rearranging things to make everything fit. So we have come up with this plan. We're going to put the little kid's computer in the corner. We're going to add up sonotubes and some great scenic designers that are part of this wonderful community life, make them into trees. We're going to make the leaves multicolored alphabets. We have some artwork we're going to put up in between the windows. We may or may not paint the room depending on really the budget and stuff. We want to do this with rolling our sleeves up and doing most of the work ourselves. So there's some things that are still working out with the staff and with Richard and stuff. And then here's the thing: once he was in there meeting with everybody, there's parents there all the time with little kids and stuff. And so we start consulting not only with the staff but with all these families as well. And they're like, what would you like in here? Now for me, Kieran, who's 2, he's home right now, but I'm going like this all the time. And in there, you can't, the sight lines are awful. So we came up with a thing. I can see them in there now. Maybe they're 4 foot high. It's going to be like a wall, but like a friendly neighbor wall where we can see in if you're outside, and the kids can be in it. Peter the horse would stay. The picnic table would stay, and And everybody can see the kids running around, reading books, playing, whatever. And then, the staff is culling the collection. They gave us a little more room, and so we're going to push out a little bit. So right behind that area, there's going to be a little area dedicated for like this demographic, where they can hang, they can do their homework. There's a homework club where they, all do their homework together, and they can hang there and work on the tablets and stuff and do whatever. It's just going to be dedicated to this demographic. And then the most important thing came up in all these conversations with the parents and with staff. How does the library fit into the conversation the community's having? All the funerals of young people that are happening right now, and how this institution is, we don't want to engage with that demographic. We must engage with that demographic. And I'm so crazy for like the library fair. And anybody who I talk to who grew up here, I just interview them like crazy. Tell me everything you know. I so want to know. I grew up here 2 hours from here, but I want to know what it was like here. They all have such fond memories of this place. But at a certain point, there's no memory of they can't think of a memory of them at 15 here. We lose them. And Leslie works so hard to engage them. I mean, we're here because when she was 2 and 3, we were upstairs at Story Hour. And at some point, they created a program. They pushed Leslie aside and said, hey, we can read now. We want to read to ourselves. And that became a theater group. So there's this foundation that's being built upstairs with the programs. And at some point, we lose them. Like her best friend from the neighborhood goes out to Bennett now, and she's here less, And so the most important part that was missing from the whole plan, talking with everyone, was that demographic, the teenagers. The computers we got are cut off at 12. So to the right, a dedicated space for that group that we can say, you're welcome here. You have a place here. And what are they going to do? We're going to get a little sofa couch. They can sit down and just chill out after a long day at school. They can research. We're going to get these beautiful little desks, and they're going to be able to do their homework there if they want, or do research. And it's promoting the academics of what this place is all about. And it just gets her to stay longer here, and hopefully lots of them will stay in this area or come back and be sitting on a board replacing you guys and replacing me, and they're going to have what it takes to do that because they were here in those formative years. So in order to do all this, again, working with Leslie Jess, what can we do to move these things around? Well, when we looked at Richard crunched the numbers a million times, it's a little space issue because we don't want to lose any more of these books. So we need 2 of those big suckers over there to accommodate the adult books so that we can do what we need to do in there for the kids. And so we look it up, they get the catalog from their office, and they're $2,200 each for these things. Each, and we need 2 of them, Richard figures, to make this all work. So we're like, we don't want to do that. I mean, it's to do what we have to do to raise the money. We don't, there's better ways. We got to be smarter with the money. So we got a dedicated group of volunteers that do everything for us. They roll up their sleeves, and these guys are like, okay, we have a friend of ours who's a good friend of the library and a friend whose sister has a furniture shop, a factory in Kingston. We're going to build them down there, and we're going to bring them up, and they're going to cost us maybe $800 for 2 of them instead of $2,200 each. And that gives everything out here what we need, and it gives us the space to move things around in there, paint what we got to paint if we decide to do that, put the desks in and the sofa and whatever, and give every age of 0 to 18 what they need to do that. Now, last time around, the precedent here is the director, the staff, like I say, they ask us for stuff, but the last time around, 2010 I think, when we switched things around, the kids' room, when she was 2 and 3, the kids' room was the traffic, everyone going in and using the restroom, and she's on the horse, and it was like, I'm like, wow, I remember going, this doesn't seem right, and obviously everyone else thought so too, so they moved it. And they moved it by closing the library down for a week. So the entire community lost the library for a week. They did it paying the library staff to do all the work. So this plan is, okay, they ask us for it, we help out, we get the volunteers to roll up their sleeves. I mean, these guys, I was just talking to one of them, Sean DeLisio, he's working 6 days a week now. On his day off, on Sundays, we're all going to come here when the library's closed, so we don't disrupt the normal programming. And we're going to work then, and then put it back together in so many Sundays until we do it. And then we're going to be done. And then when we're done, we want everybody to come and celebrate what the room looks like and what's going to happen in it. And also, this guy Richard is so phenomenal. I know, he's been here, he spoke and whatever, but he came to us late last year, with this other idea called art games. And somebody help me out. What's the big art museum in Buffalo?
Knox Albright.
Knox Albright. Thank you. So in conjunction with Knox Albright and this media company out of New Jersey, they created this computer game that takes their permanent collection, these unbelievable images of their permanent collection, and it makes them into video games. And it really engages the kids, and they learn a lot about art at the same time. Eventually, we'd like to team up with Wham or something around here and do it there with the permanent collection of Woodstock, or perhaps the library. But in the meantime, we are going to have an event where everyone, kids, grown-ups, can come in and play this art games. We're going to rent a screen and we're going to do the whole thing. And that's going to be our activity when we have the gala reopening here. And I think we've all planned with these guys and the friends. May 7th, I believe, is the day before, Saturday before Mother's Day. And everybody celebrates Mother's Day on Sunday, but Saturday, let's be at the library and do this thing, and we can have like a little tour and see what's happened over there. So that is, that's the gist of it. It's going to be really great. John knew part of it because he was at our last meeting and heard about the computers, so this is filling him in on the rest of it, and then he invited us here tonight and wanted to let you guys all know that that's the plan. And yeah,
Fantastic.
yeah.
Before we invite questions, there are other people from the Friends, and I wonder if they want to put in
I'll put in my 2 cents. I think it's an amazing gift to the children of the community. I have 2 granddaughters. We have 2 granddaughters who are almost 4, and they live in a neighborhood in Brooklyn with a satellite of the Brooklyn Public Library. And there is an area in the basement of the library that's their children's area. And naturally it's big because it's Brooklyn. But they have an area with those designated computers for kids that are not hooked up to the internet, but are, for kids ages 3 to 7 or whatever they are. And they love it. It's absolutely fabulous. It's such a learning tool. And the fact that we're going to get that here is just amazing. And the other thing I want to put in my 2 cents, adults who come to the Woodstock Library already read. They already love books and learning. Our mandate as friends of the library, as board members, as librarians, our mandate is the future, is to make the children love books and learning. So we can't do enough for them, in my opinion. And this thing is absolutely phenomenal, and I'm thrilled and excited about it.
Yeah, I heard about it because she did it, and then when Leslie brought it to us, I was just so excited, we can actually do it here too.
I think it's going to be really great.
Yeah.
Claudia is with us.
Well, thank you. This is really a temporary solution to this bigger issue that you all have on your plate, and it's about you all making that decision. This is just to help bridge that gap. And we're only doing it under the advisement of the library staff and our patrons, who most of it are our children who use the library. My daughter's been here since she was 2. Now she's 8.5 or 7.5 rather, and you're 8. You're 9. It goes really fast. So all we want to do is bridge the gap. We don't want to make a big investment. It's just a small one to bridge the gap while you all decide how you want to move forward with this institution. But as you all know, this institution is such an important part of this community, for the children all the way to the seniors.
And the teenagers.
And we have not been able to bridge that gap. Okay. So let us do it temporarily, or it's not a big investment, but we want to work within the confines of what we have now, and it will buy time to reach out to this constituency that has not been reached out to. It's really difficult, but we would never do anything without the direction of the library staff coming to you and saying, this is what we need, this is what we want, while you guys decide the bigger picture. All we want to do is help you.
Thank you. That sounds like a really friendly.
That's our mission.
Friend of the library.
That is our mission.
I know that.
Do you people have
I'm
any
sure there are
questions?
questions that board members have. So first we're going to go around
All right.
the board, I think, unless you're from the Friends and want to.
No, I'm from Public Access, but I think they've got a great plan, and it's nice to hear that people are volunteering. But I especially like that they're going to hardwire the computers as opposed to Wi-Fi. I think that's very important for the protection of our children, and you're to be commended on that.
Right on, and they're not even going to be access to the internet either. These are just, it's all in there already.
It's all
So
integrated.
the programs are there.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Right on?
Thank you.
Sure. You want to begin?
Sure. First of all, thank you for coming and sharing your vision of this with all of us. I would love it if we saw you folks on a more regular basis.
Let's make that happen.
Yeah, and it sounds like an exciting plan. There's only two caveats I have. One, I'd like our building committee to have some input into the painting, colors, etc., and how that goes about trimming and all that. And I'm a little concerned about another type of shelving here, our furnishings. But if it's low, I mean, I just went around and counted. We have at least 10 different kinds of shelving
Yeah.
in this place.
Well, we're going to match. We're going to match them up first of all.
Can I address that? That was one of our biggest concerns, because at first it was like, okay, we're gonna take what we have and just do what we have, do what we can with what we have. And what transpired was, let's keep the library's bookshelves to the library, the adult section. Let's not affect their shelving. We just have to move them a couple of feet, and we did, we did the measurement so that there's the fire code, and we worked very closely with Dan to make sure we measured. And then we thought, okay, well, let's just keep the adult shelves, and because we're making this special place for the young adults, we'll just custom make those shelves to go with the rest of what exists. But the most important thing is that they're secure and they're safe and they can hold the amount of books. But it will create, so there is some consistency, and so the only thing we're suggesting to change, and it's not really changing, it's just adding on, are the walls to hold the books to make the young adult area.
And all the collections now are going to be together. Like the main kids' room is going to be all the young kids' books. The young adult whole collection are going to be in that little room. Now, first of all, the teenage room, there's no doorway or anything. It's just an open way, and then the whole collection is going to be within that. So we're trying to be really concise and keep everything together.
And if you want, say on the, for us, it's not about the color, and it's really about creating.
Well,
we
yeah.
would like it, but if that's what's important to you, then
Can I ask a question? Can I ask a question? You have a building committee on the board? That's great. If the building committee is going to weigh in on the color, could they perhaps also volunteer to help paint?
I would.
Okay. I'm not sure if we're going to do it. I mean, we might just keep that blue because we only have so many Sundays, and it could be a thing that.
But and I'm really to hear you say that this is a temporary measure, that it's not going to sort of wag the tail that wags the dog of a master plan. So that
at all.
eliminates
It's
any
just
real
to bridge
concern
the
I
gap.
have.
And I'd like to say congratulations on there's new faces here, and there's a new fresh feeling to this board, and you're doing the master plan, you've got the wheels in motion, and I congratulate you on that. And everything in this room that we're looking at is temporary in a way, right? Because who
Yeah.
knows, everything's up for consideration. So this is just to improve it for 0 to 18 for the time being. Until you guys figure out with the community what is the
Because
best way to
it's
proceed.
not up to us, it's just we want to help facilitate what we have at this moment. And this is what we have, and so we want to make the most of what we have until it's time.
It sounds like we'll have a nice experiment, so to speak, and that will inform our master plan to see
That would be ideal,
how it
absolutely.
works out. So,
That would
no,
be ideal.
it sounds good.
Do you have anything to present to the board, anything to show, anything on paper?
No.
But we will.
We'll go around
Okay,
and everyone will get a
It
chance.
sounds like an exciting project, but I wanted to ask, and something may be needed, I think. Is this, I just want to ask the board and the chairman of the board, is this something of a scope and type that might require board approval before it should be proceeded with? I mean, not that that would necessarily be difficult to come by, but it wouldn't, is this something that would normally require board approval?
It doesn't strike me that way. Since nothing structurally is going to be done, it's a question of rearranging furniture. I certainly remember this being done under Amy's tenure, but if you feel otherwise, let's say it now.
I'm asking the question, you know, I like the project. I'm not, I have no
I
objections to.
think we all like the project.
Though this is kind of the first I've
Right.
heard of it, and that's
Yeah.
a little bit concerning.
I-
And you know, I don't know what the scope is. I mean, do we have to close the library some to do it? That might require board
No,
approval.
that's Sunday,
Oh, no,
So-
Sunday.
Sunday and Monday.
Okay.
We want to do it differently
Work
than
with
last
on
time they
Sundays
did
and
it.
Mondays.
You know, they closed it for
Anyway,
a week last time.
Right,
And they paid
as I
staff.
said, I'm asking the question. I'm not,
Sure.
I'm not,
I'm kind of thrilled myself at the energy of the Friends, who for the most part have young children and really want to do something that's going to have immediate consequences for their kids and other kids as well.
Oh, you're gonna go around.
So I'm going to, Selma.
Oh, I think it's a wonderful idea. I particularly like the idea of working with the kids who are just so threatened by the whole drug thing. And if there's a way of engaging those kids and getting them, you know, into the library rather than onto the green, I'm all for it.
I said the other day, we want to engage them. I'm like, no, we must engage them. We don't want to. We
Yeah.
have
And
to.
it's a very small space, but it's really sweet, and I would think it
Safe.
would be welcoming to them.
My only thing, and I'm sure, you know, you've heard this before, is that it feels like it's coming to us sort of already full-blown, and if we had had a little bit more information earlier, I would have felt a little better.
I'm confused. Doesn't the library director communicate with the board?
I just met with Richard on Saturday to finalize plans because things were still moving around.
Yeah,
So
I
We get in
mean,
discussions.
there was nothing to really
Yeah.
tell you because the whole thing was in the head of one guy.
Right.
And that guy, I'm telling you, I've been talking to him for weeks and I don't really understand it. I understand more tonight hearing Michael than I understand talking to Richard for weeks and weeks because he's not able to really communicate what it is. And I always thought that Janet was communicating to you people what was going on. So it's probably the fact that Richard is some sort of a mad genius and can't verbalize what's going on in his head.
The dude is at the media lab at MIT on his way right now, so that's what we're
Yeah.
talking about.
And my sense is Janet didn't want to say anything to you guys until we had a better sense. We had a lot of, the biggest, like, it was only a week ago that it was like, okay, no, we can't have all that space because it's going to take up the adult books. And it was a week ago that we said, Richard, figure out how we're going to accommodate the adult books because it can't lose that space. So this is, you're not being blindsided.
I don't feel blindsided.
Okay.
I don't.
And it's been a process. It's
I
been a
feel like
process
we're
since the
all,
computer
like,
since
learning
this
how
summer.
to work with one another
Right,
again.
right,
I think simply that
And you
Janet
guys were
was,
very privy to the computers being brought,
Yeah.
and then the next step was, okay, well, how are we gonna get them so that they're usable
not
and
cramming
there's a place
something else in
for
there.
kids to use them and it's
Where are the
welcoming.
adult
People wanna
books?
come.
Oh, what?
They're right there, but they just need to
Okay,
be moved
fine,
a
fine.
couple of feet.
That's fine, fine, fine.
It's literally
Yeah,
moving
yeah,
them
yeah.
a couple of feet, but we didn't realize that we had those couple of feet to move till a week
The
ago.
thing about the art games that Michael just explained, I have heard the phrase art games for weeks. I never understood what they
Oh,
were
there you go.
until tonight. So, thank you, Michael.
And really, the art
Janet, did you
The
understand?
art games, the art games is just the launch party.
No, I just knew that it was an art game, was an educational game, which I'm all for.
But it's really just a launch party
I didn't know
to
what
bring
that was.
attention
I've never
to the fact that we've got these
Right.
computers now for children. It's really, what we're using the art games for is for this launch party, to draw attention, to get people to come and notice what the library is offering that it hasn't offered. to
And
this
I also think that, we get ideas. We're a group of idea people, truthfully, in our fundraising, and we get some really good ideas. And Janet, you should feel free to bring any of the ideas that you hear at our meetings to this board and share them with the board.
But I would like to, if there's any of the projects that we're working with the staff and the director with, we will come here and we'll have this discussion again.
Well, maybe, I'm sorry, I don't mean to jump in, but maybe since now, I mean, I can kind of visualize it myself, but it'd be kind of good if you could just draw up a simple plan to show where your
Well,
sonnet
and Richard had it all in pencil.
Yeah, it's all in pencil,
It's
but
all in
it's
pencil.
changed like
And
5, 6
Richard, being
times.
the professional that he is, if it's in pencil, he doesn't want to make a presentation. He wants to do it where there's this actual computer-generated live, image
Yeah.
that he can share, and he couldn't do it up until this point.
And he
I
couldn't be
think
here tonight.
if you can be patient and wait a few weeks till we get it all together and it's all finished in the planning stage, then there'll be something to give you
Okay.
in terms of a press release and a whatever picture.
Eliza.
I just want to say, if there's a communication problem on this, this has been an ongoing process. We started the talk of the computers and needing furniture and rearranging, dates back to our September open meeting, which several board members attended. The culling has been something that Janet has shared with you. That's been part and parcel of this ongoing process. The purchase of the computers has been something that's been shared with you as part and parcel of this project. What we're talking about is redecorating and rearranging. This is not major construction, and our understanding has been that this is a director and children and staff-driven project. They came to us. We're trying to realize their vision, and it's become it's grown organically. When the library. When the last director rearranged things, this was done under her aegis. This was done under her expertise, and that's what we've been doing. This isn't an end run around the board. This is realizing, working very closely with the director and the staff to realize the best vision of what we can do, on a limited budget with what we have, without changing anything that would require a review of the fire codes or major construction of anything like that. So, it's been an ongoing process, and you have heard pieces of it.
Thanks very much. I just want to give everybody here a chance to respond. John?
I just had the one question. I'd like to see something on paper
You will.
as soon as possible.
Which was a drawing.
Yeah.
We just don't want to-
That was my question before.
You will. You will.
George?
I think the idea is fabulous. I am excited about your energy and your enthusiasm about this project. One thought that I had, though, was that because the board is an elected representative of the community, having the board's support would be analogous to having the community's support. So I think it would be wise to stay in communication with the board, not because we're an authority necessarily, but because we do represent the community. Yeah. But I love the idea. It's great. Yeah.
Well, I would disagree with you, because we are members of the community, we members of the Friends, and we all have many, many friends in the community. And when we do something like the library fair, and we decide what kind of games at the children's area, what kind of food to have, we don't have to get the board's support in order to have the board represent the community. We know what the community wants.
Well, you know, the assumption is that we all value democracy, right? And democracy is based on elections, right? So I don't want to go...
Based on what?
Well, it's based on, you know, an elected entity, right? Where people are actually asked what it is that they would want, you know, and how they want to be represented, you know. So you know, the assumption that the Friends' actions...
Well, do you want us to come and ask you whether we should serve corn or watermelon at the library fair?
Absolutely
because you're
not.
elected? I mean, it's silly. We know what the community
The
wants.
elected officials hired the director.
And she knows
this
what the
is a
community
project
wants.
that the director has authority over, and we've been consulting with her. How could that not be democratic?
You're absolutely correct. In other words...
It's very democratic.
But the board is responsible for the facilities here, right? And it was brought to our attention just recently as to what your intentions were.
Well, you should be very happy and grateful.
I mean, it's just happening, and we wanted to come, we didn't want to come with just this random idea, we wanted
should
to
be
have
saying
already
thank you.
spoken to the staff.
I think everyone said thank
That what's realistic, because they're here
They all said
every
bye.
single day.
Yes, well,
They
you know,
know the details.
I don't want to be misinterpreted as being against or somehow opposed to your project, because I am fully excited about it. I think it's great, right? But, you know, we are a board, and
Well, I
we're
understand.
responsible
I'm not
for the
clear as-
facilities, and I think it's important that we actually be in communication about
But
as...
that's why we're here.
Exactly, great. That's all I'm saying. You know, it's not like I'm not, you know, trying to...
However,
Yes.
moving forward, now that we've made this presentation, what we are planning to do moving forward is to give the plans to Janet so that she can present it to you, because it's Janet's.
Because it was the library's intentions, we're trying to
It's the
fulfill
library's
those intentions.
And we are supporting the director's intentions. And if any issues that you have, where we're supporting, you need to direct those with Janet. And we will make accommodations as necessary. We are not running this over you or the board or the director. We're only facilitating the needs that have been requested as needs, and that's what we are as the Friends, is to support the needs of the library.
Right. Okay, my only request is that you may want to see the board as not being in opposition to your intentions, right? That the board actually could fully, you know, be enthused about what it is that you want to do, right?
But it's
However,
not
the board, hold on, let me just finish. The board does exist here, you know, and my request is that you just take the board into consideration, that's all.
And again, that is why we're here today. But
Thank you.
at the end of the day, it's between Janet and the board, and we are there to support the needs of the library.
Great, thank you.
And that's why we're here today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
And thank you, John, for formally inviting us. Thank you.
Thanks, friends, I think it's great, go for it.
Thank you.
Jim?
Oh, I think the friends are great. Thank you, guys. Thanks for making everything clear, Michael. It was a good presentation.
And thank you, Janet, for being the director of this library.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing all this hard work and for bringing it to the board. And I think that trusting Janet and her professional opinion and input is great. So I think you're doing a great job. And thanks.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm not going to be here to help.
And the float.
Yeah, right. What are we going to do? What are we going to do for the parade Memorial Day?
I want to say that you're doing exactly right by bringing it here, and this is our notice. You know, you're giving us the notice, and I'm a little opposed to the board being a micromanager to all the events that happen at the library. We have a terrific staff and a terrific director that just facilitates all the good things that happen here, and I appreciate everything that the Friends do.
Thank you.
We support your director that you guys hired, and we support our hardworking staff.
And at the end of the day, we have to support the decisions that you all make, and we will. But this is our presentation, but everything's going to be funneled through Janet. She will present it to you. Any issues you have, you give to Janet, and we will adjust accordingly. So,
We are happy you are our friends. Thank you.
I wonder if it's appropriate to make a motion to approve this, this plan for the board and have it on record. Is that appropriate? I move.
I'll second.
Wait.
I second.
All in favor?
We have a discussion.
Anyone opposed?
We just had
Yes,
it.
we-
No,
No, there will be discussion after a second.
after a motion comes
Thanks, Barry.
Discussion of the motion.
The board fully approves.
Thank you. She just gave me the eyes, so it's time to go.
and thank you for hearing us.
Thank you. Have a great meeting.
Thank you. Spring break.
Spring break. Oh, spring break. We're done.
Have a good trip. Safe drive, don't speed.
Okay, next is the director's report.
I'll be right back. I just want to say.
We approved J. Mullen and Sons to do the demolition. He has a date for March 21st to begin, so that's next Monday. It should take 2 to 3 days to knock everything down, clean it up, and backfill and level the site. So he anticipates 3 days only and we'll be done. He's already contacted the various utilities to have them disconnected, and he has the demolition permit, so he's all set to go. Just some programs that happened recently, in case you're not aware. The Sign Language Story Hour was last Saturday, another library forum. The AARP Defensive Driving Course had 39 participants, so that was a huge draw. And it went well, I believe. Coming up this Saturday, we have the Shadow Puppet Theater Workshop for the children. And then we have the Library Forum with Brian Hollinger. The Fiction and Personal Narrative Workshop, which has been happening here for years with Nancy Klein, that's starting again on March 25th. So she already has a full class and people on the waiting list with that one. The Big Library Read, this is the Overdrive ebook promotion for American Sniper by Chris Kyle. There's no holds or waiting list, so everyone can read the book at the same time.
Beyond that, so I think what we were trying to determine was who, in addition to the chair, is.
There is one missing piece, though. The missing piece is that there's a rubric that's given to us by Mid-Hudson Library System, it's New York State, the different committees that every library board should have. And a committee policy is necessary because it's a guideline. All the policies are guidelines for us. And it's part of, and I can show it to you, I don't have, maybe I have it with me, but there is a list of different policies that every library should have in their policy manual, and a committee policy is one of them.
I took one of your remarks very seriously, that I was thinking about reducing the size, and you were thinking that really we need to encourage more people to come to the committees. And both are true.
Well, if you're thinking of outreach last year, I think that was an aberration, and mostly the committees are working. But there's not a lot of participation, right? There isn't.
That's true in general.
So are you going to start appointing, is it part of this that you're going to fill out the committees with people?
I'm sorry?
Are you going to make appointments? Because today, under the bylaws, you can make appointments to committees. You have the power to fill out the committees.
Well,
and put 3 people on. If the 3 people is what you want, you can do that with the current,
The only person that we've talked about, I've spoken with Jill, that I would like to appoint George to the building committee as a member. And I think they're both eager for that. But it's going to mean that there's a change in timing of the meeting, because everybody is not totally free to attend the committee meetings. Other than that, I wasn't going to make any
Can I?
In response to what John was saying, is this seems like it fleshes out what the bylaws state. It adds the real context of what the role of the president is and how many people should be on a committee. And that's what I see it as. It's
I don't
an
like
extension of it.
There's something, and I don't have it in front of me, I'm sorry, but there's something that's somewhat restricted, I think, as far as participation goes. I don't see a need for that.
Well,
Can
as
I
I
just
say,
make a
if you'd like to
comment?
hear it again, I do see a need for it. I see a need for a committee to be relatively small to conduct efficiently the work that it's been charged with doing. I see a need to limit the members, let's say, anybody who attends all of the committee meetings. Not to feel that they can dominate on the decisions and the work of that committee. It's different to be a working member and being a participant in that you attend an open meeting. So,
Moving right
let's
along.
keep it brief.
Moving right along.
Barrett, and so,
I wasn't around for the outreach committee meeting, so Barry, I'll talk about some of the things we talked about. Well, show number 33 is up. I interviewed Rob, but in doing that, we have to train 2 people, at least 2 people, so they can alternate, to go there every week and put the disc in. And I have this question, I brought this up at the meeting, and it's interesting because at that meeting, nobody was there. Usually there were 4 or 5 people at meetings, nobody was at that meeting. So what I'd like to propose is that for everybody to think about this. Do we want to be on Channel 23? Is it going to be worth our time and effort to acquire another 9 viewers? I don't know how many people are out there watching. I do know I can go to YouTube and I can see if 50 people saw the show, or if 10 people saw the show, I can see how many saw it. But we don't know how many are viewing out there. Maybe 5, maybe 100, don't know. So my question is it worth it for us as a board to keep that time so we can put the show up on the air? And this is going to involve everybody because we need to train people from the board to go and, to train them to go to the studio just to put the disc in. They're not going on live, it's just putting the disc in.
they don't necessarily have to be from the board, train people to go on.
Right.
Excuse me,
somebody.
they don't have to be trained. You can just turn them into the town, and they'll be put on the
carousel.
On the carousel, and they'll just play. You know?
Yeah?
Yeah. We work there. That's what we do.
We'll help you.
We'll help.
When I make up
We'll
the
help.
DVD disc, I just can go up to the drop it off with Jeremy.
Yep. Turn it in, and they'll put it on the carousel, and it'll play. And it'll play on a rotation. One time it might play at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and another day it might play at 6 o'clock, and then another day it might play 10 o'clock at night. Whatever the carousel sets it up to be.
What about the time that we've already reserved for it?
I would keep
We
it.
reserved the time of 6 to 7.
I would keep it if I were you.
6 to 7 on Tuesdays.
I would.
Keep that time and have someone put it in at that. You could
Well,
also
that's
make
what
2
we're talking
copies.
about right now.
Make 2 copies. Give one for the carousel, and you probably could get any of the producers to put it in for you. We support the library. We'd be willing, if we're there, we'd be willing to do it for you.
We work together.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt, but I wanted to give you some
But
information.
I'm glad that you're here and you're telling us this, but because we can then go ahead and use the station without necessarily training anybody. We know we'd go to the carousel. It's just a matter of you burning another DVD.
Right.
Another copy.
Right. And if you have a time slot that say your time slot scheduled,
Right.
For someone to just go in and put it in the machine and press a button to put it out, that's not hard to learn. It's very simple to learn.
I know it's easy, but like for me, the amount of time that I spend making it, doing it, going to other meetings and stuff, it's just another hour and a half out of my life that, you know, I'd rather be doing something else.
Well, you can look online at stuff, amuse yourself while you're
Depends
there.
on what time. If your time coincides with, say, ours, or either before us or after us,
we'll do it.
We'll do it. If it's some of the other producers, if you let us know what your time schedule is, we could talk to other producers and see if they'll do it for you.
Okay, how can I contact you?
I'm Joe.
Joe Barton.
Joe Barton?
901-1114. But you should keep your time slot too, because in the future you want to stream live, and through the World Wide Web, we might have such scintillating conferences here that you could be renowned for that time slot.
And we're hoping,
over in China.
we're trying to get that put out on the World Wide Web, but the problem is they throw commercials in the middle. We're trying to get it up so it's commercial free, since it's public access, and public access shouldn't have commercials. If we're working on that, if we get that all hooked up, then it'll go out very far.
What was your 901?
901-1114.
That's Joe Barton. Okay. I don't even remember anything else I was going to talk about right now. So.
Sorry.
Well, actually, just one more thing. Now that Selmer's back, at the next meeting, we're probably going to start to talk more about Joe Donahue.
Yeah, we can do that. I've met with Joe. Eliza had some amazingly good suggestions for, to run by Joe in conjunction with what he wants to do. He was very fond of one of them, which had to do, and I talked about this briefly, with sort of a collaboration between local writers, the bookstore, the library, nurturing writing, involving some of the writing groups maybe. So that needs to be fleshed out, and now that I'm back, I can talk to Joe and hopefully have something for you. And I don't know, I'm not sure, but I think he's not doing the Writers' Festival this year. So maybe June? I don't know if June looks like a good time.
The Writers' Festival, yeah. It's interviewing something.
Well, maybe.
No? I mean, that's how they advertise it.
I just want to point out to you the Cahill letter that was sent over all of our names in the hopes that we may get some money. Would be very nice. New business, the board.
It's just a promotional idea.
It's a nice idea.
Use it.
We'll have to let it simmer.
Raise your hand.
Thanks. Yes.
My husband doesn't want me to read all of this. I won't. So for the sake of brevity, I do appreciate what you're saying all about protocol and the importance of introducing an idea at the right time. I was working with Jessica Kerr about getting emails, responses that my DVDs have arrived from the Mid-Hudson Valley Exchange Program. But I was very unhappy that they come from an address of do not reply. Now, I'm in the middle of some big litigation over theft of intellectual property and email privacy. So I wrote off to a man far more expert than I am, and I'll just read one small sentence and ask if I might have your enthusiasm to do a little more work on this and to inform the board members before the next meeting about email privacy. And, in the spirit of policy from the Mid-Hudson Regent's Robert's Rules of Order, due process is going to be very important in understanding how important the people are who are using the library, and that they have access to agents that will represent their interests and not hidden interests that will be involved in identity theft and data mining and so on. So what he says is all emails have, basically what I was saying is I found 2 emails sent to an important judge in a federal case where a co-producer of mine was nearly beaten to death by a federal marshal trying to give supporting evidence and to witness my motion to intervene because I was up here in Woodstock. So needless to say, I was a little bit alarmed, wrote some follow-up emails to the judge's clerk, and never got a response. But more than that, these emails were missing from my sent box. So I said, even if I remove emails from my Earthlink account, how can I prove that I didn't Photoshop it later? I had to protect myself, CC'd people, including Brian Hollander, and one of these emails was even duplicated in the letters to the editor. But this is important for the Woodstock Times, the Woodstock Library. So Jessica really went above and beyond the call of duty. She did a lot of research for me. I said, all I want is to get an email that my DVDs have arrived from an actual responsible party, an actual address, not do not reply, not some computer response, but somewhere where I can go that if in the future any damage has been done to me through data leaking, that it's not done through the Woodstock Library. So what he's saying about removing these emails, since I found one was taken from me, 2 of them in my sent box were removed, and if I remove them to a backup hard drive, would I have forensic proof in a court of law? So he said all emails have tracking information and are stamped. You can always trace them with the tracing numbers and routing in the header, which are generally hidden to users. You may not be able to understand them, but tech people do. Then the question is, you've got to have tech people that you trust. So I would really hope to have your enthusiastic desire to participate in my getting more information on this, passing this information on to you who are sitting in an extremely responsible position, so that we can have the culture and the promise of modern technology at our fingertips, and the great talent that we have in this community be able to be shared for the sake of peace and culture throughout the world. That's my fervent hope. And I will do everything I can to help you with getting your time slot up and going on Woodstock TV, because, good free speech makes for a good community. Thank you. Thank you.
What is your name?
My name is Paula Gloria Barton. That's Paula Gloria Barton. And I'm sorry I spilled on your thing. I was so thirsty.
Does anyone else wish to speak? Yes.
A couple quick questions. Are you going to block off parking? I know the destruction is supposed to start on Monday.
Yeah, they're blocking it.
Because there's some people who park overnight, and I just don't want them to arrive. And since the big boards are going to be removed this weekend, do you have are you putting out the cones?
I'll have Roger do it.
Okay. Could we put them out Saturday rather than Sunday night?
Yeah.
So that it's to free Sunday. Usually Sunday mornings it's very busy. All the parking spaces are normally taken because I think there's a large group that meets here. Mm-hmm. So that's what I want to avoid. And secondly, Jill, you mentioned the light pole. Is that something that you are going to be trying to address before there's a master plan? Because what if you put up a pole and then you want to put something
put
there?
up a pole, a light, temporary light for
Just a light is shining
pole.
down across
On the utility
street.
pole.
On the utility pole that's already there.
Right.
I think that's what was done elsewhere in town, but we're just starting to look into it, so.
Right.
But
And
it will be.
they had a really high price for altering that pole.
No, not.
I understand, but moving it, and so if that's something that's ever going to be, if this then would add to the cost of that, you might want to ask that, just to make sure you're not, jacking up their price if something has to happen later.
I see, sure.
Yeah. Is that it, Martha?
Yep.
Thank you. Anybody want to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make a motion to adjourn. I'll make a second.
A second?
You got a second?
George.
I'll second.
Okay, the meeting's adjourned. Come up and, all in favor?
I made a motion to.
Oh, Barry, yeah.
All in favor?
I'll second it.
Anyone opposed? Okay, the minutes are passed. And Michael?
Yeah, Michael?
Step out.
Michael,
Behind you.
Go do it.
oh, here you go. Hi.
Ah, wonderful.
Waiting.
Hiding in the closet again?
Hello.
Oh, hi.
We're happy to have you.
Oh, we're delighted to be here.
Michael, do you want to sit down? You want to pull up a chair or you want to?
You know, we'll stand. We'll stand.
Okay.
Just give him some chairs here.
Sitting through dinner.
I'm gonna just bring him some chairs here.
It's really been important tonight.
Well, first off, thank you for having us tonight. I don't know if you all know Devin, but she's my little sidekick, and this is our second home half the time, so she wanted to come tonight because it's spring break and it's not a school night. And she's going to stay up late tonight, so we're going to party. So thank you. John was at our quarterly meeting the other day, the Friends, and invited us here. We were explaining this little program, this little thing in the kids' room, and he invited me to come over and explain it all to you guys. So I just want to give you a brief report on what's happening. So to give you a little recap of what the Friends do, we raise money and we give it to the library when the library director, staff, when you guys ask for things, and it could be anything from hey, we need a bus because we're doing grassroots lobbying up in Albany, so we, kick in for a bus. Or we need a new magazine rack, we buy a new magazine rack. I don't think we've ever said no. We discuss it, we throw it around, but that's generally what happens. You guys ask for it, and then we help you facilitate getting what it is. And it gives the taxpayers a break because it's not in the, that budget. And there we go. So last fall, Devin tried these computers out at the West Hurley Library, and Leslie was aware of them, and they are hardwired, they are not hooked up to the internet, all these families as well, and they're like, what would you like in here? Now for me, Kieran, who's 2, he's home right now, but I'm going like this all the time. And in there, you can't, the sight lines are awful. So we came up with a thing. I can see them in there now, maybe they're 4 foot high. It's gonna be like a wall, but like a friendly neighbor wall where we can see in if you're outside and the kids can be in it. Peter the horse would stay, the picnic table would stay, and everybody can see the kids running around, reading books, playing, whatever. And then, the staff is culling the collection. They gave us a little more room, and so we're going to push out a little bit. So right behind that area, there's going to be a little area dedicated for like this demographic, where they can hang, they can do their homework. There's a homework club where they, all do their homework together, and they can hang there and work on the tablets and stuff and do whatever. It's just going to be dedicated to this demographic. And then the most important thing came up in all these conversations with the parents and with staff. How does the library fit into the conversation the community's having? All the funerals of young people that are happening right now, and how this institution is, we don't want to engage with that demographic. We must engage with that demographic. And I'm so crazy for like the library fair. And anybody who I talk to who grew up here, I just interview them like crazy. Tell me everything you know. I so want to know. I grew up here 2 hours from here, but I want to know what it was like here. They all have such fond memories of this place. But at a certain point, there's no memory of they can't think of a memory of them at 15 here. We lose them. And Leslie works so hard to engage them. I mean, we're here because when she was 2 and 3, we were upstairs at Story Hour. And at some point, they created a program. They pushed Leslie aside and said, hey, we can read now. We want to read to ourselves. And that became a theater group. So there's this foundation that's being built upstairs with the programs. And at some point, we lose them. Like her best friend from the neighborhood goes out to Bennett now, and she's here less, And so the most important part that was missing from the whole plan, talking with everyone, was that demographic, the teenagers. The computers we got are cut off at 12. So to the...
Did you get a bed like this with DJs?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
You didn't get one?
Maybe just the girls got one.
I didn't.
You didn't get
That's
one.
what I heard.
Were you here when he did?
Why, Katrina,
You did, and you went through.
why are you still here?
I'm not giving that back.
I don't know, are you giving this back?
To the highest bidder?
Barry wants it,
Can
he
I
didn't get
use
one.
PayPal?
Excuse me, is the library recording this meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
Where's the camera?
There's an audio.
Oh, we don't have
Oh.
we don't have that anymore. We just record it, the voices.
Okay, when does the public be heard?
Jess?
When is it? I think it's at
It's
the
at the end.
end.
It's at the very end.
Response about a microphone?
No.
You're on the case.
The public be heard is at the end?
Yeah, I think it's beginning and end. Or we
No,
just-
it's just the end.
Just the end.
Is that a yes?
At the
It's
end.
at the end.
I thought it was at the beginning.
It's at the beginning for the town board.
Huh?
The town board meetings are at the beginning. The library public be heard at the end.
Do we have another agenda?
Wait, I'm finding something out.
There's a whole.
Thank you. I'll talk to you in a second, Ron.
There's some there, the agenda's gonna be changed, only in that Michael Hunt is going to,
This is the agenda.
speak before, the director's report.
Might as well wait. They're not started yet. This might be longer than I thought.
So what'd you say, Eliza?
Is this the library board meeting? Is he taken?
Yeah. No, by you.
By you.
It will be on my library director as well. So Katrina says, a public library, open to everyone because we all chip in to maintain it for our common good. It is like an interior park.
And they have all these educational programs and games on them and stuff. And we thought, okay, it's another way of engagement, and it's going to be an added bonus, and the children's librarian is asking for them, so we looked over everything and we purchased them. And then she said, okay, where are we going to put them? And we bought them already, and then we're like, okay, wait. Now we got some really savvy people on the Friends, and Richard is like, wait. So he called up the company and said, don't start that warranty until we actually get delivery of them, not at the purchasing. So we worked that out, and working with Janet and Jack and Leslie, thank you, Richard is a spatial guy. He's done all these corporate events, and he's like, okay, I'm going to help. We're going to figure out how to do it. So this town is so wonderful in so many ways. He goes to. We need a desk for the hard, for the big computer, the desktop. I think it's 5 through 9 for the one. You know, they break it down in age brackets, 5 through 9 through that, and there's tablets for maybe 9 through 12 or something. So we decided to get a little of everything. So Richard goes to Catskill Office Supply and says, hey, we need to get a table. And they're like, hey, you can have this one. So anyway, we don't have to spend the money. We try to do that. So we get this a table donated. We start working with Leslie about what to do. So we're going to put it in the corner. And then he's like, they start talking about decor and rearranging things to make everything fit. So we have come up with this plan. We're going to put the little kids' computer in the corner. We're going to add up sonotubes and some great scenic designers that are part of this wonderful community life, make them into trees. We're going to make the leaves multicolored alphabets. We have some artwork we're going to put up in between the windows. We may or may not paint the room depending on really the budget and stuff. We want to do this with rolling our sleeves up and doing most of the work ourselves. So there's some things that are still working out with the staff and with Richard and stuff. And then here's the thing: once he was in there meeting with everybody, there's parents there all the time with little kids and stuff. And so we start consulting not only with the staff but with
offering a place that everyone can use, support, and exercise our First Amendment rights. The idea of trusting people of all ages to borrow a book and bring it back for others is one beautiful aspect of democracy in action. Okay. The roll call, I'm here, Barry Miller,
Here.
Barry Samuels.
Here.
Katrina Barber.
Here.
John Woodward.
Here.
Jesse Jones.
Here.
Jill Fisher.
Here.
George Pinsner.
Here.
And Sally Catholic.
Here.
Excused Arlene Hammond and Dorothea Marcus. Janet Diamond is here. And we need to modify the agenda unless, are you speaking for Michael Hunt or is he coming?
I would never speak for Michael Hunt.
There he is.
There he is.
There he
He has
is.
his own, he has his own for
I want to modify the agenda before we make a motion to adopt it, and that is that Michael Hunt will speak before the director's report, and the director's report will precede the financial report.
So that means he's first, in other words?
Yeah.
Wow.
Do I hear a motion about approving?
I make a motion to approve the amended agenda.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor? Anyone opposed? The next order of business is to approve the February 18th meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I just want to correct the name John Mueller, J. Mueller to J. Mullen, M-U-L-L-E-N, on the director's report. I misheard.
M-U-E, spell it again, please. Mullet.
Mullen, M-U-L-L-E-N.
With an N.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, is there any discussion or correction?
This one's here.